Majin Maichutrin, Dinir Sikarja, Kid Mila Falcher, Roiv Galer, Go Belfastja. Good morning, Chair, Conference. You're all very welcome to Belfast. This is my final speech as Chair of Northern Ireland Council, and I step down in a few weeks after 6 years in the post, and the smile is a reflex. I can't control it. Obviously, you'll all find this is an emotional moment for you, and we've staff moving through the auditorium with paper hankies for anybody overcome. And if they could just focus here on the second and third row in this section, the Scots also have trauma from last night to recover from. It's been a challenging 6 years dominated by COVID, pandemic and the ongoing collapse of the NHS in the United Kingdom in general and Northern Ireland in particular. I've been supported during my term by our superb team in Northern Ireland led by our National Director Claire Armstrong and the dedicated staff in the Belfast office. We have excellent branch of practice committees with great engagement from representatives and outstanding leadership from the chairs of committees and executive team members. The BMA in Northern Ireland is strong, active, representative and determined to stand up for doctors, their patients and the NHS. A glimmer of hope recently was the agreement our GP committee reached with the Department of Health to help practices with medical indemnity and to move most of the performance indicators into core services. Well done to Alan Stout and his team. But unfortunately, after 14 years of underfunding, inadequate workforce, political instability and overwhelming workloads, Northern Ireland now has the longest waiting lists for patients in all 4 nations, and as we say in Northern Ireland, for all 5 nations, because of course the Republic of Ireland has the shortest waiting lists of the 5 nations. Many of our waiting lists are now longer than the life expectancy of the patients on those waiting lists. 6 years for a first appointment for orthopaedics, that's the first appointment. It'll be another 6 or 7 or 10 years for the operation. 8 years for first outpatient consultant gynecology. 7 years for neurology, red flags of 6 months and more. This is both disgraceful and demoralising. One of the biggest problems in Northern Ireland now is that patients with cancer, only 30% begin treatment within the 62-day target, 30%, 30%. Huge numbers of patients are now presenting with advanced metastatic cancer where no primary can be identified because it's too late, they die within days. This is an increase in avoidable deaths, a decrease in life expectancy, and huge increases in health inequalities. Healthcare workers are suffering increased stress and burnout. The moral injury doctors are facing because of these waiting times are high. If I sound angry, I am angry. I'm angry on behalf of the healthcare workers, angry on behalf of the doctors, angry on behalf of the patients that have to put up with this NHS that we used to have. Our Junior Doctors Committee has already begun industrial action for pay restoration. Our SAS colleagues are going out to ballot for industrial action. Our consultants have postponed their action following positive engagement with the Department of Health, showing that when they want to, our local government can address the issues here. Barnett Consequentials helped. Well done to Bish Sharma and his team. The junior doctor strikes were the first strikes by the medical profession in Northern Ireland, and there's clear justification for this action. Our recruitment and retention of doctors has been frustrated by the much better terms and conditions elsewhere, particularly in Sláinte Care, which is the huge investment in healthcare in the Republic of Ireland. Ray Wally, Dennis McCauley, thank you very much for making life up here even more difficult. They're the IMO reps, by the way. But it's also noted that there's higher pay in the rest of the UK and indeed in the rest of the world. This perfect storm of lack of funding, understaffing and huge waiting lists will only be solved by radical thinking and actions, increased funding and training places, recruitment on better terms and conditions, the unfortunate and seemingly inevitable use of the private sector for waiting list backlogs and better cross-border working. We can't survive against Lancashire Care. Some of our trusts are running consultant vacancies of 44%. 44% vacancies. Why? Well, you can earn twice as much money on a very short commute across the border. This job, working as a doctor in the NHS, is too difficult and too important to be badly paid. When politicians show us who they are, believe them. When politicians say that they value the NHS, but they don't invest in the NHS, believe that. When politicians say they value their staff, but then overwork and underpay them, believe that. However, the NHS that we've had for the last 70-odd years in the UK is more than just a health service for our community. It's part of the glue that holds society together, part of the social fabric where we fulfil our responsibilities to the sick, the disadvantaged, the vulnerable, and the elderly in our community. This cannot be done with an underfunded, understaffed, overloaded health service. Health has to be the #1 priority for government spending in all 4 nations. The medical profession and this body, the BMA, have a responsibility to stand up for the service and its patients. It was Seamus Heaney, Nobel laureate in literature, who said there's no such thing as an innocent bystander. The BMA in Northern Ireland is not bystanding. It is our job to speak truth to power, our mission to advocate for the service for our patients, and the responsibility of the BMA to protect the NHS throughout the United Kingdom. The road ahead will be challenging, but it's always us in the NHS. We must adapt to the challenges ahead. We must engage with change, advocate change, lead change, stop bad things happening, take advantage of the opportunities for our members and for patients. We hope. There's an old Irish saying, "Da fata an la tagan an franona." However long the day, the evening will come. Gormila, my hug it. Thank you, Salan.